Good evening, lovely people. How is it going? Man, I'm listening to this tune thinking, oh, this is one that I play on Beat Saber pretty regularly. Good evening, all. Rastamouse. Yes, I am an idiot. It's the same as updating all of your libraries and dependencies just as you're about to go on stage to do a demo, right? Good evening. We've got some lovely people, as always, on stream tonight. Thanks for joining in already. Good evening, all you lovely people. Oh, would you look at that? Gombos has just subscribed again. 5 months in a row. You are a legend. And, oh, Rasta has also resubbed. You're such a lovely person too. Thank you very much. There's their get system emote from Gombos. Cheers for the support, guys. Always appreciated. Now, before we get down to business, tea. Black Assam. It looks really over milked on camera, probably because of the lighting in here, but it's actually not over milked. So I have a Black Assam with a bit of milk. I needed a bit of a kick, so I decided to go with something dark tonight. What do you guys got? Because hacking with tea, without tea, is very uncivilized, as we all know. Now, quick voice check. Last stream that we did, what was it, Tuesday last week. Now, I had some issues with the mic. Some people were saying they couldn't hear me, so let's quickly make sure that all is good. Not stand. Okay, so the music's too loud today. Well, let's wind that back then just a little bit. How about that? Isn't it funny how everyone's got these different ideas of, you know, what's good and what's bad? There we go, better. Okay. Everyone happy with that? Yeah? Okay, good. Sorry about that. I know, I've got milk, Dean. Leave me alone, man. I'm allowed to have some milk in my tea. Don't judge me. Teas, coffees, beers, whiskies, whatever it is that floats your boat. Make sure that you have it on hand. Earl Grey and milk, you're a savage. It's bad enough that you have Earl Grey. Ugh. That stuff is rough. Rough coffee. Early morning for you though, Gombos, so coffee is probably a good thing to kickstart for the day. Right. Alright. You guys are hilarious. Ooh. Insolent Fool, Archbishop, Rasta, Gombos. Who else we got? Sisop. Oh, Josh is in as well. Thanks for coming in. Zorkat, as always, a pleasure to have you. Marty Sek, greetings to you. Men's, thanks for coming in. Zorkat, I've already mentioned. Thank you very much, guys and gals. Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls. All right, let's ooh, you're in some wine, Dean. I don't blame you. Okay, so does everyone remember where we got to last time? Yeah, I know that feeling, man. Last time we got stuck into building the HTTP transport. Did we not? I believe we did. But there was one small thing that was biting us. Can anyone remember what that is? I think I narrowed it down just as I was, at least in my head, as I was kicking the stream off. Now let me flick over to VMware so that you can see a blank screen, because everyone loves to see a blank screen. Oh no, hang on. Here we go. Can everyone see that? There we go. Oh, there it is. Yep. So the issue that we had was that when we kick off a new session, actually let's kick off the listener just quickly. Still has the same IP address, so that's what we know. We would create a session and MetServe would load, but we wouldn't get standard API loaded by default, so we had to manually load it. Does everyone remember that? So let's kick this off again. As you can see, we have a session staging a CLR2 payload, as you can see, doing exactly what we want. But when we look at the session information, there's nothing in here. And it's because standard API hasn't loaded. So we can interact with the session. Oops, if we type the right command. And then we can use standard API ourselves, and we've got it all here. So it works, but clearly the auto wiring behind the scenes is not currently functioning, which is interesting because with the reverse TCP it was working, or or at least it appeared to, right? So what we need to do is figure out why that's the case. So what is it that causes standard API to load automatically? So I'm going to exit out of MSF and let's have a quick look through lib. We're going to look for a line of code that says, what is it? Woohoo, stream! Good day, Outwolf. Thanks for coming in, man. So we're going to quickly dig through the code. We're going to find out the section of code that automatically loads standard API. Now, can't remember where it is. Here we go. So here we can see that priv is trying to load standard API if it doesn't already get included. I'm going to do it the other way around now because I can never remember which way around. So, dispatcher core, here we go. I'm pretty sure this is what we need to do. Oh, there's client core as well. Hey, do we have any of these open? No, we don't. Okay, so let's edit lib. Hang on, which folder are we in? Oh, jeez. Might quit out of that, and we'll do it from here. Let's open all of these puppies up. So we just want to get an understanding of where these things are actually invoked automatically. Okay, so standard API. So on migrate, which isn't really what we're looking for, so we can probably close that one down. What's going on here? Command migrate. Okay, same story. Looks like we're doing the same thing in a couple of different spots. Command load, same story. Okay, so we can get rid of that. It's probably... Oh, hang on. I've ran out of files. Is that all I loaded? Somewhere it's probably not where I was looking actually, but somewhere automatically loads that and priv when the session first kicks off. And I just need to figure out where that is. Maybe maybe what we need to do, post Meterpreter client core, UI, command dispatcher core. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in one of these. The Ruby, it burns. Hey, Sisto! Haven't seen you for ages, mate. How you doing? Yeah, man, the Ruby does burn. The Ruby lasers. Yeah, so when we start, when we get our session, maybe there's something in... Where is it? Maybe what we need to do is... Okay, we'll quit out of that. Let's grep for standard API in lib. Just want to get an idea. Maybe we can pipe that to grep load. Where are we? Yeah, here we go. Look at this. And there it is there. Let's open this puppy up. Load standard. Here we go. Okay, so when we create a... Oh, what have I done? Should be gbim that thing, shouldn't I? Okay, so... You can see here, when we get this bootstrap kicks off when the session is being effectively bootstrapped. And so... Data store auto unprocess, sorry, wrong one. Unless data store auto load standard API is false. Now this might be interesting here. I'm pretty sure that auto load standard API comes with a base Meterpreter session, right? Auto load standard API. It's in Meterpreter options. So I would assume, given that we're using the default one, that this should actually load. So what I'm going to do quickly is let's do the usual standard area puts Meterpreter Session bootstrap. Just want to make sure that we even get in here, because that'll give it as an idea as to whether or not we're actually in the right area, right? So let's kick off another session. 18 people. Yeah, you know, Wolf, it's interesting because when the very first stream there was 70 or 80 people, and then it's kind of petered off. And what's interesting about doing series is that over an extended period of time, you end up with like the number of viewers just going pretty much regardless of what the series is based on. But there's this core set of people that oscillate between 15 and 30 over the course of the streams. But you know what? If there's one of you out there learning from this, then I'm happy. But I think a lot of people are getting benefit from watching the videos on YouTube after the fact. So can't win them all, hey? How did I pull up after Masters on the weekend? That's a very good question. Let me answer that very quickly by showing you this. Can you see the damage on my hands? Probably can't actually because the camera's not good enough. My hands are wrecked, and I have all kinds of horrible stuff. I've got marks on my arms and whatnot. But you know what? It was totally worth it. It was a lot of fun. I'm a little bit sore. Skin's still a little bit raw. But other than that, no regrets. It's fantastic. It's good fun. Thank you for asking. Time is a big thing for you. Being stuck in the 1950s makes it hard to get there. Yeah, you're on the other side of the island, aren't you, Seasto? Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. Still wouldn't mind that stream you were talking about a few weeks back. Oh, yeah. The Ask Me Anything beginners stream. We need to do that. Yeah, cool, man. You're on the west coast. Thought that was the case. All right, let's kick off another session. And there we go. So Meterpreter bootstrap. So we do get in here, which is good. Which means that we should loading standard API. Now this will be really beneficial to go through because it may uncover some other quirky bug. Be good if we could easily reload this stuff, but because it's part of the core libraries, it's just safer to restart. Aha, so we didn't get in here. That's very interesting. Why is it that we don't have autoload standard API? And we did grab that before, didn't we? Autoload standard API is part of the Meterpreter options. Now, have we not included this? That could be our problem. Okay, so let's ag Meterpreter options in modules, payloads. Okay, so stages. Please tell me that we included it in CLR. Windows. That doesn't look like we have. That well could be our problem. Oh no, hang on. CLR 4, CLR 2. Okay, so it is here. So edit, modules, payloads, stages, CLR 2, Meterpreter. Okay, so we are including it in here. So that's good. Hey, Pink Tangent's in as well. The milkshake is bringing all the fancy people to the yard this evening. Thank you for coming in, mates. Lovely to see you. Pardon a horrible reference to that song. I don't like that song. Here's what it is. Okay, so the Meterpreter options though. If we edit lib msf base sessions Meterpreter options, we should see it in here. So auto load standard API should be set to true. Now this should be included by default, right? Because well, that's what we're doing in here. Super, we're calling super. So one would assume If we just have a quick look at that local.rc. Yeah, cool. I'm going to run this again. And I'm going to, before we spin up a new session, I'm just going to have a quick look at what the options actually show, because they should be there as like advanced options, right? Auto load standard API is set to true. Maybe we've got some issues with the data store that's being passed through. So maybe if we have a look at this. So the data store that we're getting here should contain all the things, right? Let's have a quick look. We're going to just inspect it. See what's in it. And maybe what it is that we're getting called and passed into the bootstrap method isn't actually the data store that we're expecting. It could actually be blank, and that's our problem. So let's do that again. Everyone's gone silent. We're up to 18 people. Okay, let's try again. Righto, so auto verify session true. Auto load standard API is true. Really? Okay, now I'm confused. And actually, you know what? Maybe something's dying. Oh, did you not have sound working, Pink Tangent? I was just saying hello to you. I was wondering why you were ignoring me, you jerk. Blank like the task. Yeah, let's put some debug output in here and figure out where we're going. So, Barney of the Rubble has resubscribed. Thank you, Barney. I appreciate that, dude. Alright, so I'm going to put some counts in here. See where we get to. We should be able to get to here and here. So, Barney's given Pink Tangent a sub. Thanks, man. You give away too many subs, my friend. Can't have a mop without a bucket. You're a bad man, Barney. A bad man. Okay. Back to our Windows VM. Ooh, we crash. So we get here, but something dies in here. That's interesting, isn't it? I wonder if like the GUID is blank. Something else is going wrong in here. Oh, core set session GUID. Okay, so let's change this back. Oop. Set this back to. I've just done it again. I hate when I do that. Let's go 4.1. 4.2. 4.3. Let's see what happens here. I don't know. I'm thinking that session GUID should return all blanks at this point, but this will tell us. This will tell us. Okay. Where do we get to? We get to 4.1. So we're here, and then we call set session GUID. Okay, so why would that be failing? Why would that result in things not working properly? Set session GUID. Okay. At least we're narrowing it down, right? This is good. Your debug messages have too much meaning. Yeah, I know I'm on stream, which is why I'm actually giving more information. Usually it's pretty weak, I'm not gonna lie. So let's look for def set session GUID in lib. So it's in client core. Lib rex post meterpreter client core set session GUID. Do we not have core set session GUID supported? Oh boy, this would be rather amusing. Yeah, well, how about that? That's pretty funny. We don't actually have that. We don't have that function. So let's do it now. Set session. Oh, hang on a second. Let me just quickly check something. So there's a get and a set. I wonder if it actually does the same thing behind the scenes. We'll keep them separate. We'll do get session GUID and set session GUID. So that's going to be get session GUID and set session GUID. Man, I can't believe we missed this. Eh? Pardon me. Alright, let's grab this. Shove it in here. Set session GUID. Oops. And we'll do the same with get. Okay. Now, I'm pretty sure that we actually just return raw bytes. But let's quickly check to see what our native version does. Ah, no, I've rebooted my machine. GitHub Rapid 7 Metasplit Framework. Oh no, Metasplit Payloads is what we want. And we're going to look for... It's probably a slightly easier fix than I was expecting, to be honest. Request core get session GUID. Puts this in here. Get session GUID adds raw. Okay, so there it is. That's all it's doing. Okay, so we just need the byte array that maps to the session GUID and we can return that. That's pretty simple. So let's quickly bash out the get. Did I put them the right way? Get, yeah, I did. Alright, so get session GUID. All we have to do is go response.add tilde type session GUID, and we need to give it basically an array. Now, I'm pretty sure that we have a reference to the current session, don't we? Do we? Maybe we don't. Ah, that's right. We're going to have to move this up a level to the server because the server registers a couple of its own. This is where we need to put it. Sorry, my bad. Let me quickly move this stuff. Chuck it in here. Plugin manager. Dot register function. Take our code out that shouldn't be here and we'll stick it down, maybe back up here a little bit to where the other ones are. Core shutdown, shove it in here now. Here we should be able to go this dot session dot session GUID, which is already a byte array. Okay, so there's the getting of the session GUID. Now the setting of the session GUID should hopefully be as simple as it sounds. Hey Vendetta, thank you for coming in, mate. Good to see you. Bandit, you're here. Hey, if you keep up that cheek, I swear, you will end up on the shit list, and I will make sure that I build get system when it's 2 a.m. your time. Thanks for coming in, Rickster. And Smash is here as well. Smash is usually busy on a Mondays, and it looks like he's making a special exception to rock up. It's good to see you, Smash. It's been a while since we've had you on stream, mate. Very nice to have you in. You've been missed. Okay, so varguid is going to be request.tlvs. Now we're going to assume that it's here session GUID. We're going to get the first value, and we're going to get the value as raw. Now we can just set that directly to this .session GUID equals. And that really should be it, right? Does. Alright, you guys. Now the question is, do we just send an empty response back when we call set session GUID? So we get it out, we copy it over, transmit empty response. Okay, so it is an empty response effectively. We don't have to give it back anything sensible. Can't believe I missed that. Ooh, what's this? There's also a set UUID. Maybe we should quickly bash that out as well. Set UUID. All it's doing is exactly the same. Okay, we can absolutely shove that in as well. So set, what is it going to do? Session UUID. This is a universal identifier. I think, is that there? Or is it going to be the same TLV type? Probably is. Yeah, type UUID. Okay, so it's not the same. UUID. There it is. Okay, so that's easy. Change that actually, because it's not the session we're calling it UUID rather than session UUID, which is probably deliberate to make sure that it's clear that the UUID isn't session specific. It could transcend sessions, so to speak. So let's do that. What happens when we build? No, there's no get session UUID at this point, because the UUID is actually something that is generated on the MSF side and only pushed out to Meterpreter in certain contexts. We can dig into that a little bit later on so that we're fully aware of what it means. But anyway, let's run our listener again, and this time it's interesting that it crashed, hey. Or that it hangs. Maybe it was just sitting there hanging and it just timed out, but let's see if we actually get it all running now. Ooh. That's better, isn't it? And we've got everything in it too, see? Winner, winner. Chicken dinner. We fixed it. I'm fascinated to know why that didn't die with reverse TCP. But anyway, that's good. Did I put any standard errors in here? No, I didn't. Let's undo all of these debug outputs. I didn't do it anywhere else either, did I? Okay, so now we actually have the transport properly working. That's cool, hey. That wasn't so bad. Which means that we're going to be in a really easy position to support HTTPS, because the functionality is going to be exactly the same. But before I quickly go ahead and do that, we want to make sure that we are generating web clients correctly every time. I'm not going to worry about it so much in the stager, but I'm going to make sure that we're doing it correctly in the stage as per what the configuration gives us. So let's quickly fix that up. So in our HTTP transport, we've got this function down the bottom here called send packet. Now what I want to do, I tell you what, there's so many songs in my ear from Monster Cat right now that have appeared in Beat Saber. Every time I hear, I'm just picturing myself waving my arms like a lunatic. Righto, so let's go private. Love this song, this is great. Yeah, I was waiting. This happened a few times tonight already, Rick. So good. I'm gonna go play it afterwards. If you guys haven't played Beat Saber, this is a really good song to do. Yeah, it's really good. I'm just gonna create a little factory method called create web client, and we're just gonna do wc equals new web client. Now I wonder, we should be able to actually specify the URI in the web client. I think maybe we can't. Oh no, we've got to leave that to the actual call, don't we? Okay, so here we're just going to go return WC. Now we want to make sure that if we've got proxy settings actually set, then we set those proxy settings on this thing. That feeling when the programmer guy takes his hands off the keyboard to swing them around in the air. I know. I did that in my first shell dance, very first string, no regrets. That is pretty funny though, not gonna lie. So good. This one makes you sweat on Expert Plus, trust me. Okay, so if this.config dot, we've got another follower. Springer. Thank you for the follow, Springer. So, URL, URI, where's our proxy stuff? Ah, this.config. Ah, it's not part of the config, it's part of the actual, okay, that makes sense. So if this.proxy host, that's a string, isn't it? Now the proxy host would have a full string in it, so all we need to do is go not string.is null or empty. We're not using the white space option because that's not available in .NET 2. So we're just going to go is null or empty. Each team member of the red team had their own song. That's so good. Yeah, I approve of that, Bandit. That's what makes things richer when you're doing your job, hey? A live stream of... Oh, you want me to do a live stream of me playing Beat Saber? Is that something you'd want to see? I'll do it. I'll do it if you want me to. Take a little bit of setup, but I'll make it happen. For sure you would watch? You might be the only one. Although I do remember Eric saying that he'd be interested in it too. Alright, so if the proxy host is set, then we need to create a new proxy. So, new web, is it web proxy? Here we go. Now, I think we can give it a string. Yep. This.proxy host. Actually, we don't even need to set it that way. We can just go wc.proxy equals. And then what we should probably do is go if, now we've got this.proxy user. And we want to make sure if they've specified the user, then we'll assume that they've given us a password, and if it's blank, then it doesn't really matter, right? So we need to go if not string.is null or empty, proxy user. Whoops. You've watched quite a few Beat Saber videos, eh? You'll watch me sweat, hey, like I draw a sweat when I'm playing that. wc.credentials. I think we've got a set. Alright, now what we'll do is we'll do the positive case first. Okay, wc.credentials equals can't remember what this should be. Maybe we should just go use. We need to go use default credentials is true. Actually, we should default that for the web client, and then unset it if it's not there. So if it's null or empty, then we need to basically specify a credential that matches web client dot. Where is that default credentials thing? Does anyone remember where the default credentials thing is? Smash, can you remember that off the top of your head? I could cheat and go and look at the source code for what's it called? Because their stages use it as well. This is blatant cheating. Credentials. There'll be a .psh or something somewhere. Hang on, what was that? Come on, where are ya? It'll be in a stager or something. I've got a PR open to fix some of this stuff. I still haven't submitted it. I'm a horrible person. Default credential tokens run as SMB scanner. We might actually have to think and look at the code. So we've got stages. Let's have a quick look. This is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a blob of PowerShell inside one of these things. Can anyone remember where it is? Or tell me off the top of their head. Credential case. Yeah, there it is. Thank you, Rasta. That's how terrible I am. Credential cache got dot. Now, is it default credentials or default network credentials? System credentials of the app versus get the network credentials of the current security contact. I think that's the one. So here's where we want a new, what kind of credential do we want? Yep, cool. Thank you. That's the one that I did want. But we want to create our new, is it a new Windows credential? What is the, again, the credential that we create when we want to specify? Cheat again, C# web client proxy credential. Let's have a look at that. Required. There'll be some examples in here for sure. Here we go. Network credential. Well, there we go. What does this second parameter do? Okay, new network. If I could type, that'd be great. So, what do we got? We got a username, which should be this.proxy user, this.proxy pass. We want to make sure that when we set this up, we do this correctly. Bypass on local. Yeah, let's do true. Let's just do that. And then we set that to that, and we're good. Okay, so that should be legit. Now, if we don't have a proxy host, do we set the proxy to the default system proxy? That would make sense, right? Does that make sense? So we don't have a proxy equals, is there a static on here, which is, there you go, get default proxy. Oh, it's deprecated. Reads the Internet Explorer non-dynamic proxy settings. This method has been deprecated. Please use the proxy selected for you by default. I want to go to that link. How do I go to that link? Don't you love this? Let's go to the definition. Maybe it's... There we go. Let's see what this says. Oh, really? Please use the proxy selected for you by default. Okay, so does this mean that we don't actually have to set it anymore? Yeah, that is a bit funny, isn't it? Okay, so I can get rid of this negative case and just leave it like that. Okay, so that means then that we can just basically do this. Create web client every time that we want to create a new web client based on the current thing. Now, obviously, we're assuming here that when we wrap the original web client, because we were able to get out and stage it in the first place, that we actually have a web client that we can use for sending. This wouldn't be the case in stageless, but we have to fix stageless later on because we're not even at the point where we can do that. Does that make sense? Now, I don't have a proxy set up, so I can't exactly test this right now, but let's get rid of d2f dot, get rid of these unnecessary, no, that's fine, okay. Righto, so that's pretty good. That seems to be doing what we want. What I'm going to do quickly is whip up HTTPS support, which shouldn't take us very long at all. It's pretty much all on the MSF on the other side. Well, we do have, once we've got HTTPS working, we need to make sure it works with CLR4. Okay? So, what do we need to do? We need to go into modules, payloads, stages. And we need to go to CLR2. We need to copy this into reverse HTTPS. And have a look at this. Reverse HTTPS. I'm pretty sure this is what we need to do. So to handler reverse HTTPS. Now, just to validate that that's the case, let's just quickly have a look at Windows reverse HTTPS.rb. Yep. We just got to change the convention. Yep, that's exactly what it needs to be. Stage, yep, okay. Looking good. Pretty sure that will be the case for all the things. Now let's go into stages. I don't think there's anything in here for HTTPS. It's just Meterpreter stuff. So let's go all the way back now to, where is it? Lib MSF core payload. CLR2. Now let's just quickly cat. Oh, have a look at that. What is that? Apparently I created this last week. That's weird. Definitely me. Windows, whoops. Reverse HTTPS. Now, see how this just includes reverse HTTP and overloads stuff. So this is basically what we want to do. We want to copy that to here and change it to CLR related bits. Reverse HTTPS. Transport config payload. CLR2. reverse HTTPS. Kernel generation for Windows Arch CLR2. Speak to that. CLR2. And this is pretty much it. That's all we have to do in this case. So we make use of all of the existing stuff that comes with HTTP, but we add some bits and pieces on top of that. There's also going to be some extra bits and pieces to do with things like cert hash validation. And we want to make sure that we have that feature supported as well, which could be a bit of a pain in the butt, I'm not going to lie. What else do we need to do? Don't think there's... Actually, let's check something. I'm pretty sure that's all we have to worry about at this stage. So... Okay, so let's vim the local RC. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to have reverse HTTPS on 4449. And let's see if that actually spins up. How hard can it be? Clearly hard. So what have we missed here? Couldn't be loaded. Alrighty, let's go and have a look at... This is me doing all my other magic behind the scenes to keep our repos up to date. Fail-f .msf logs framework.log. Okay, so what do we get here? Failed to load due to name error uninitialized constant payload CLR2 reverse HTTP. Am I really that dumb? Have I done that again? No, I'm not that dumb. Something else is going on. libsf call payload reverse HTTPS. Righto, okay, so this is where the problem is. What have I missed? Ah, there we go. That's what I should have done. Who can I blame? I'll blame Barney. Argument error. Cyclic include. Ooh. How interesting. How have I got a cyclic include here? Right, let's grab this. Oops. Let's take that. And that. libmsf core payload. So they're the only two things that I've created, right? So I pull in core handler reverse HTTPS and core payload CLR2 reverse HTTPS. This calls in core payload CLR2 reverse HTTP. Yeah. Yeah, this song is a cracker, hey. This would probably solve the problem there because I was dumb. Ooh. Hooray. Now, do you think it's just going to magically work? Because I'm pretty sure there's one thing that won't work when I do this. I'm going to call this simple web stage test. can get rid of this and go simple web stage test, give it HTTP and 4448, and I can just go HTTPS online. There we go. Let's test HTTPS. Sound of your bike running is a banger. Alright, let's build that. And we will see what happens. See if it actually accesses the stage. Ooh. This is what I knew was going to happen, right? The underlying connection was closed, couldn't establish a trust relationship. So herein lies the thing. Right now, behind the scenes, it's going to do certificate validation checking. So we want to make sure that on the web client that we disable it. Now this is actually really important, what we're about to do here, because there are two ways of turning this off. You can do it globally, which is a really bad idea, or you can do it per web client, I think. Where is it? Either that or it's on like the web request. Because what I see with a lot of payload, I see this in C2 examples all the time, is that they set it globally. I even see it in software of clients of mine where they go, you know what, for this particular thing, we want to reach out to a web server and we just want to disable SSL checking while we do this. But what they fail to realize is that they disable it globally and they don't reset it to something enabled, which means that after they've done their thing, there's no validation on any certificates across any web client calls from that point on in the software because they haven't reverted it. So C# web client disable SSL check. So we only want to do it on the request that we're currently doing. And you watch, there'll be examples here. See this service point manager? That one there is not the one that you want to do because that does it for all of them, right? We want to do it just for that one thing. Where is it? These are all bad examples. We don't want to deal with the service point manager. Come on, where is it? I refuse to go ahead and make the same mistake. No, I am not doing that. Hello, Alexis, Margot, Robbie. How you going? Can you ask for some help with an issue you're having with your browser? Fire it in the chat and let's see what we can do for you. Send a client cert if you need to buy. No, I don't want to buy certs. I legit want to ignore stuff. Come on. Oh my goodness, have a look at that. See, look, it's doing the same thing here. That's not what we want. It's definitely possible to do it, by the way. You know, Smash earlier on I said I've missed you. I take it back. That is fair. It's fair. It's pretty fair. We don't want to do this. Like, this is really upsetting. Service point manager object returns service point object. Yeah, really don't want to do that. Come on, there's got to be a way that I can make it on the web request itself. No, don't want any of this. See, everyone's just ignoring the SSL related bits and pieces completely. And it's worth us doing this properly, because if we are part of a .NET application, we don't want to muck with how everything else is done. There's definitely a way of doing it per request. Maybe we actually need to create like a request object. If anyone else can Google at the same time, then that would be helpful. But there's definitely something here that we can do. Encoding headers is busy. Proxy query string site. Thanks, Smash. Let's have a look at that. My Google foo is letting me down. So download string. Yep, we don't want that. Oh, what do we got here? What the heck is this? Yeah, it does. It's doing some, look at this, it's using reflection behind the scenes to set a static function. Binding flags. That's not what we want. Certificate validation callback. There's a callback. I know there's a callback somewhere. Dean, let's see what you've got for me. That's in what do we got here? How to ignore self-signed sets. Where are we? Ignorable certificate set. Okay, right. Yeah, it's not this either. It's exactly the same thing as what we do with the service point manager. Client certificate callback. HTTP client handler. Client certificate options. Manual. Yeah, that looks kind of similar. CSTO? I think that is along the lines of what I was thinking of. Let's bring that up on stream so everyone can see it. Oops. Yeah, exactly. So if you're telling us, here we go. Yeah, this is basically what we want to do. Difference is that we want to new HTTP client handler. If you're attempting this .NET standard library is a simple solution with all the risks of just returning treating your handler, let's safety up to you. Yep, that's fine. Service certificate custom validation callback. Cool. We have another option as well. So anyway, like clearly off the top of my head, I am failing to remember exactly what it is, but the point here is that we're all here to learn, including me, and I knew this was a thing. It's just been a while since I've done it. This is on .NET Core. It should be the same on Framework. I do remember, like, this is standard library stuff. So what do we got here? HTTP client handler. Client, use HTTP client. I wonder if we can create a web client from an HTTP client. And is that effectively going to give us the same thing? If not, that's no big deal, because we can just work with HTTP clients out of the box anyway. Let's see. HTTP client. Is that what it was? HTTP client It is that. I might be missing a reference. Bugger. That's going to be annoying. I love how you guys are frantically Googling with me, because we don't want to spend the rest of our time just looking at Google, right? Base address, default request handlers, max. HTTP is a common set of properties that works across most versions of HTTP REST API. So maybe it is available as an event sitting on top of just the... There it is there, web request handler. Create a web request handler and use default pipelining, blah blah blah. Create HTTP fine using the web request handler and go from there. Okay. 4.5 only, and that's okay because we're only going 4 onwards anyway, right? So maybe we can do it in here. Web request handler. Web request. Really? Okay, so have I made a mistake here as well? Is that also not available? Bummer. So all of this stuff. God damn it. So we are in a world where we're going to have to add that server validation callback. System.net. Yeah, good question. Actually, let's check. No, we don't. Add a reference. System.net. Do we even have it in .NET 2 or 3? Yeah, I can browse to it. Isn't that interesting? Now, where are we going to find this? It's probably going to be in... Don't need to look in the... No, where am I going to find this thing? Hang on. System.net.http. Sorry, just doing this on a different machine at the moment, which has a bit more grunt than the virtual machine. While I'm searching the file system. Seeing it in Win side by side, which isn't great. Would it be in the GAC? I would have thought that it would be in the GAC. Isn't that what this is supposed to be? The GAC. And it's definitely not there. Maybe, oh, maybe we just need to include system.net as a reference. And then from there we'll see other stuff. System.net. What were we looking at just before? HTTP client, handler. Maybe not. Maybe not. don't want to add. I really don't want to add that global ignore. I just feel filthy doing that. Does that make sense? Am I overly sensitive about this, or let's get rid of that reference? The .NET 4.5 thing is not a problem really, because we're not targeting 4.5 and higher. We're only doing one for CLR2 and sorry, .NET 3.5 and .NET 4. So anything higher than 4.5 we can't use anyway. Does that make sense? Oh, is it? Okay, then yes, that's a problem. And we can't and shouldn't use it. Sorry, that's my bad. There's got to be a way of doing this per request on this version. System.net. Yeah, there is no HTTP client. Maybe there is some way that we can go, like if the URL is pointing to our configuration, then fine. Otherwise, return what would normally be. We only want to do this for like HTTPS anyway. So the question is, if this is going to get set in the stager, we basically want to look at the URI on the current transport, pick up the host, and say if the host is that, then we're good. Otherwise, do what we would normally do. Yeah? So... can't believe I'm doing this. Service point manager. What was it called? Got 1,000 examples of it, haven't I? Service certificate validation callback. Ugh. What does it expect? Again? A new remote service. Sender certificate chain policy errors. Sender cert chain error. What? Not all coparts return about. Yes, that's correct. They don't. So if we just go, just to make sure it builds. Okay. So this is us ignoring everything. Sender. So what we want to do right now, just going to hit a breakpoint here. I'm going to build this and run it. In fact, you know, I'm going to pass the host in as well. I'm going to take this out and just put it in HTTPS. Pass in host. Oops. I know it's a little bit of repetition, but we should only care about this at this stage anyway, right? So maybe we can wire it in stager, and then later on we can deal with it in stage-less scenarios after the fact. So I want to stick a breakpoint here. Because I want to see the sender. Does the sender have a URI on it? request URI. Righto, so we want to basically go if s dot. How annoying. Sorry, let me just run that again. So what is the type of this thing? It's a system.net.http web request. Equals s as system.net.web. HTTP web request. Okay, so rec.request_URI.host. If the host is what we're expecting, and just to make sure, hang on before Smash gets upset with me. Lower invariant. Okay, so we want to bail out, but otherwise, if error, what is error supposed to be? Okay, so it is a remote I just want to see what the type is supposed to be. SSL policy errors. So let's quickly have a look at what these can be. None. Okay. So we just want to return when that is none. Otherwise, return. Stop. What was it again? SSL policy errors. Return. None equals SSL policy errors. We'll cast this so that it doesn't whinge. Okay. Oh, it's already of that type. Great. So what we're doing effectively is we're saying if we're pointing at the host that we are originally connecting to, then we're just going to say, yep, that's legit. Otherwise, if it's not pointing to the host that we're currently talking to, then we want to make sure that we return false unless there are no errors. So hopefully this means that when this validation callback is called within the context of a greater application, that only in our specific case, when we're talking to our host, now this might not be enough. We might even need to change it so that, whatever the current URI happens to be, which is going to change over time as well because URIs change and whatnot. So we've really got to be aware of what the current context is. And maybe we need to find a way of bubbling that context along from the stager to MetServe in order to maintain that level of compatibility. So yeah, this is a bit nasty. But anyway, let's see if we can stage. Ooh. This is interesting. What happened here? Null reference exception. How fascinating. Let me go back to here because what I want to do is make sure that. Aha. So rec doesn't equal null. What a great song. Oh, come on. Yes, we know. Where? But where? This is another Beat Saber tune. Load transports. Ah, this is interesting. Load transports. Okay, so yeah, okay. Where's load? Okay, so we need to go back to server. Okay, let's see what happens here. So we load a transport, and our transport is null. Ah. I love this song. I foresee no issues messing with global state. Absolutely agree. Absolutely, 100% agree with you, Smash. Oh, for Christ's sake, wrong button. Again, it's twice in a row. That's the one I wanted. So we know that HTTP transport is going to be behaving exactly the same anyway, right? So we just needed to add that. There we go. Is it going to work? Yay! Transport list. Yeah, that's not going to work because we haven't actually support. That's one thing that we need to add is the supporting listing of transports. So now we actually have the ability to use different transports. We're going to have to work on implementing adding them on the fly. Anyway, that's pretty good, don't you think? So we have HTTPS related bits and pieces and support in the stager. I think we're going to have to do some more work around ignoring the SSL validation for our requests because we've effectively hooked in a global, which I'm really not a fan of. And as soon as we've actually loaded the MetServe, I think we should unhook our existing and then delegate the responsibility of keeping track of SSL errors then to MetServe because we're going to be changing transports over time as well, right? Is it global is only in the what's it called that domain or something? I would say it's global. But that's a good question. It may well be app domain specific, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's global. So anyway, it's a little bit unsettling. Maybe we should put a little bit more time into thinking about how to properly engineer this. Because what I really want to do is in our program, what I really want to be able to do is just say, right, I want to do this once. I only want to do this once. And then when I'm done, I want to remove our callback, which is easy to do, right? Because as soon as we've done this download data call, that's when we want to unsubscribe. That's why we want to remove this event handler. And then we delegate the responsibility of handling more stuff down the track. So maybe what we should do, I mean, the stages are currently pretty dirty, not going to lie. Given that we're living within the context of the app domain as it currently stands, we don't really have a choice but to assume that it's global. So, all right. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a copy of this. I'm going to expand them back out because I think part of the reason why it's a bit shit is because I'm trying to remove duplication, which at the end of the day, at this point, isn't that much of a concern. So equals HTTP. Okay, so let's get rid of this crap here. And I'm going to take all of that. And the only difference is I'm going to create these two things. Now, this is effectively the principle that I'm going to employ. So let's take this, and just before we download anything, that's where we're going to do this. We want to keep track of the hosts separately though, don't we? Because I want to unsubscribe, yeah? Wrap it in another singleton. That's right, singletons solve every problem. So we're going to go static. Let's just go back here. Let's take this. What was the return value again? Bool. SSL handler. I'm sorry. Validator. Now let's take the body of this out. Given that this is pretty much the same across the board, I'm going to stick it in here. So get rid of that and this. And then as soon as we've done this, we're going to unsubscribe. Okay. This is effectively what I think we should be doing, by the way. Okay, so we've left this. What we might actually do is like put the full URL in, or full URI. But for now, for the sake of proving the point and doing the concept that we're looking for, we just want to handle it this once. And only this once, and then unsubscribe. So from there, we don't actually have any of this code wired into the validation chain. And then on the other side, we should be looking to do something similar. So one thing I'm pondering now is, like, when we create these HTTP transports, do we actually need to pass the web client down, given that we're kind of effectively creating a new one every time already? It's not really that big a deal. So I'm kind of tempted to remove the need to bubble that into load stage. I'll worry about that later on. I'm kind of conflating my issues right now. Let's just do this. So what should happen is that we should see it stage, and then it should fail. There you go. So remote certificate is invalid according to the validation procedure. So you can see we've had this exception thrown from inside metserve, which is exactly what we wanted to see. It's proving the point, right? So we have unwired our check. Now, that just means that we need to do magic down here. Where are we? HTTP transport. We also need to handle the certificate hash related bits and pieces, but we could probably wire that in as well. So we're going to look to do something very similar here to what we're doing in this program. So I might take this and drop it here. Private bool SSL validator. Let's take these. Now, as far as we're concerned, what we want to do is we want to check to make sure that the URI matches, basically the whole URI matches the URI that we're currently talking about, yeah? So we could go request.uri equals this dot config.uri. So what we're saying is if we're pointing exactly to the thing that we configured to point at, then everything's legit. Otherwise, it's not legit. And we only wire that in if we're handling SSL related bits, right? Which means when we invoke ourselves here, we should be able to do it there. We did this disposal too. So that means that when we create ourselves, we should be able to go service point manager dot server plus pack plus equals SSL validator. And then when we dispose, we can remove it. Now let's see if this actually behaves. Oops. Wrong shortcut. See what happens. Okay, so what we want to know is this. Haha! Excellent. So that should just be magically working now. Boom. So it'll last for the lifetime of the transport. Exactly that, Smash. That's cool, huh? At least that's the intent. What we may need to do, depending on how the lifetime of the transport is handled, we may need to do it as part of what's it called? Like as we change transports, we may need to unwire this in. I can't remember whether we actually dispose of this object at that time or whether we do it. I'm pretty sure the transport object can exist. We should probably do it here, hey, not. We should do it there. Now, when we call connect client.connect, this is in, oh no, that's not what I want. Connect. So what we need to do here transport retry timeout's not expired. So if it has expired, session's timed out, clean up and shut down. Ah, okay, so wait up. That's the session expiry. However, use connect is going to remain true except in TCP. We're going to need like a forcible disconnect somewhere rather than a dispose. But yeah, that's the aim, is to make sure that it wires in when we connect and unwires when we disconnect. So we do want to have it, where are we? We definitely want to have it here when connect is called, assuming that connect is called, which it should be because everything's magical. And then everything should continue to work. Yeah. Whereas, so the problem that we've got is that we don't want to do this on dispose. We want to do it when we disconnect. The thing that's a little bit confusing right now, despite being a multicast delegate, only the value returned from the last exposure hand is considered authoritative. In other words, you can attach multiple delegates and they all get a callback. Each callback returns a value that indicates whether the certificate is accepted or not. However, only the value from the last scale is respected. That's okay. I had a feeling that was the case, and that's okay. I think we should still do our own accounting correctly. So, not that I mean to imply that you were saying that we shouldn't. So that's trying to connect. If it's not connected, otherwise, packet dispatch, continue, next transport or shutdown. So when we get here, here's where we need to do it. We should probably be doing this. Packet dispatch, next transport. Move this case down the track. Yeah, because that's the default case. So if we're shutting down, we need to disconnect from the current transport. This dot current transport dot disconnect. We don't want to dispose it, we want to disconnect. When we do next transport, we'll be doing basically this. Right? But we need to disconnect from the current transport first, which means we need to add a void disconnect here in TCP transport. Now you see, as far as TCP transport related stuff is concerned, we should be calling dispose, or the equivalent of dispose. Public void disconnect. So what I'm going to do here is call that in dispose, and this is effectively going to be the same thing. In case it's all there. And we can reconnect again, creating a new client, etc. Yep, so that's fine. And then here in HTTP, public void disconnect. Oops, let's put disconnect in here. Now we might not need to do that there, but anyway, that's effectively what I'm looking to do, so that when we switch transports, we don't wire ourselves. Okay. Dispose all the things. Clear. Fail out. Okay. Righto. Okay, so I think we're at a point now where we can move over to CLR4 and make sure that stuff works as well. Yeah. Okay, so let's exit out of that. Let's go modules, payloads, stagers. LSCLR2. We should be able to bash this out very quickly. LSCLR4. So let's copy CLR2, reverse H star to CLR2, sorry, 4. And then we'll gbim CLR4, reverse HTTP star. Let's find all instances of 2. Change them to 4. It's pretty easy. It's a little bit of repetition, which I'm not a huge fan of, and there's not a lot we can do about that at this point. Let's go lib NSF core payload. Do the same thing here. Do the same thing here. Be great if we could reuse this stuff, hey? 4. Ignore that stuff. Ooh, we need to do the init CLR 4 as well, don't we? CLR 4, 4, 4, 4. Okay, so that, not the threat pressure, init CLR. Sorry, one sec. Make sure that I did do that before, yeah. Okay, now to where did we define it? Gotta do it here and here. So init C2, init C4. 87, 88, let's make that 85. CLR 4. Pretty sure that's all we have to do there. CLR, whoop. Let's add that one. To open up and add CLR 4 listeners. $50 and $51. Let's see if they work. Getting very close to the end of stream, looking good. Let's fire off our HTTP and HTTP handlers in this console .NET 4. Probably going to need to copy and paste some stuff, aren't I? Oh no. Need to change ports, that's right. Okay, so x.4 else ended. Do the same thing. HTTP. If it's .NET 4, we need to add 2. It's the same here, I believe. Oops. What? No. That's ended. Oops. You plebs are letting me down again. Alright, let's try that again. So this time we're running under the .NET 4 context, so we should see HTTP. Let's start with HTTP. Oh, CLR2. Ah, yeah, that makes perfect sense. My bad. So let me just Meterpreter CLR. We need to do CLR 4. just spit out a new URI for us. Remember the cheaty McCheats that we do? Look at that URI, isn't that just glorious? That's a big URI, huh? Yeah, let's see if we can generate one that's a little smaller. For the sake of testing. That is a horrendous URI. There you go, that's a bit more doable. Copy. Now we need to stick this in our program. There it is. Okay, so for .NET 2, .NET 4. Do that in our other one as well. Shove that in 2. 4. Okay. That's not going to work because I don't have a listener up. Beg your pardon, folks. I hope you're all still with me. There's nearly 25 of you watching. That's cool. Thanks everyone for joining in. Okay. CLR 4, there we go. It works. Okay, let's click over to HTTPS. It works. This whole process listing thing takes a while though, doesn't it? Well, there we go. Any questions? It is 9:45, which I think is a perfect time to wrap it up at this stage. Yeah, that seems to have worked okay. Do get system. No, that is coming though, I promise. I want to get pretty much all of the core features out first, and the next thing that we really need to nail, I think what we're going to finish up on the next stream will be adding and removing transports on the fly and flicking between them. Because then we can kind of tick off the transport related bits, except for SMB transports, which is a whole other kettle of fish. So the big things we've got left to do, we've got to finish off the ability to add these transports on the fly. We need to add the SMB transports and the SMB pivots, so packet pivots, so to speak, like we did in the other one, and we need to implement channels. So I think the order that we're going to do this in, we're going to finish off adding and removing transports. In fact, we may not even bother doing that just yet. But channels are the biggies. Yep, channels. Wolf, you are correct. Channels are the biggies. So yeah, there we go. We've had some success tonight, which is good. Hopefully you've learned stuff. I know I have learned stuff. I knew that there was that validation callback on a per client basis, but again, I forgot that it was .NET 4.5 onwards. So thanks, Smash, for confirming that. It's a shame that we don't have that capability in .NET 2 or .NET 4 and earlier. Would be nice. But I think if we do what we're doing here, then we know that we're only tapping into the endpoints that we are talking to. So I don't really see that as being a problem. So yeah, need channels. I want to see file transfers and playing sound. Yeah, playing sound. Paranoid mode will come with later on, Smash. So we're going to have some issues getting the. In fact, we probably won't, because if we can get the certificate here. If we have a certificate hash associated with the stager, and we have a hash associated with the metserve, then maybe we can literally just look at the X509 certificate here and get a fingerprint off it. I mean, certificate dot. There's a get cert hash value as an array of bytes. It could literally be like a string compare on that. That'd be nice, hey. Yeah, there's a serial number. Man, it makes it so much easier than doing native. Yeah, that'd be nice. So let's add that to the to-do list maybe for the next stream as well. We'll do a quick validation of the cert hash. And yeah, I think that would be good. At which point it makes perfect sense to leave that validation in and hooking at that level anyway. So why the hell not? Using serial number most secure. Well, not using the serial number. It's the SHA-1 fingerprint is what we check. That's what we're checking, and that's baked into the stager/whatever. So yeah, we'll have a play with that, and then we'll deal with it. All right, don't talk to me about that. Anyway, so I'm gonna go back to my ugly face. Thank you as always, everyone, for subscribing and supporting and offering your insights and doing the crowdsourced Googling for me. That's always very helpful. If you have any more questions, then hit me up on Discord or on Twitter or whatever. Thanks again to the people that support me on Patreon. You're all wonderful humans. I actually, for your information, I have a long-term mini video series planned for Patreon subscribers. I'll release a bit more information about that soon, but it's currently in the works. They're effectively going to be like 15-minute snippets of stuff, which I'm kind of excited about. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But anyway, people who've supported me on Patreon for so long certainly deserve more than what they're getting, and so that's what's going to happen. Anyway, thanks again. It is time for me to sign off. I'll push all this stuff up to GitHub and whatnot so you guys can have a play if you want to. But in the meantime, as always, be good to each other.